Hi, I'm Dennis Quaid, and you're watching LifeMinute TV.
Now I'm falling, feeling so low.
He's one of the most beloved actors in Hollywood, but Emmy winner and two-time Golden Globe nominee Dennis Quaid says his first love was music.
You know, music was always a part of my life. My dad played piano. There was music always in the house. I got a guitar when I was 12. We spent, a lot of alone time as a teenager because we moved from the block I grew up in. So music was like that of my basset hound, or basically, my close buddies, and it was a way to express itself. And I knew I was never going to be able to shred a guitar. So I think I started being a songwriter as kind of a defense. The best offense is good defense. So it's always been there.
He's just released his second album, Fallen, a gospel record for sinners that's been #1 on the Christian charts.
It's 5 songs that I wrote, and then songs from that I grew up with in the Baptist church. And it's really kind of, I guess, my story. It's a very personal record, I guess, that reflects my personal spiritual journey.
It's a strong title.
Yeah, well, apropos, that's where we come in life. We struggle, we fall down, we get back up. It's really, fallen refers, I guess, to the prodigal son story, which the Baptist church is just about based on. I think that's the story of all of us.
Did you always have that faith growing up, or did it come later in life for you?
It was all, I grew up in the Baptist church, yeah, and so that was there. And then I went through a period of, when I got to be a teenager in 17, 18, I got very disillusioned with the church, but I was always a seeker. I really turned to Eastern religions and philosophy. I've read the Dhammapada, I read the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, and traveled around the world. I've been to India 9 or 10 times. I was in the culture of the time. Finally, it got about to the point where I was in rehab and got out of that, which I call cocaine school, back in 1990. I reread the Bible, and it was the red words of Jesus that really stuck out to me, and that's what really brought me back.
How did you know you were in trouble?
How did I know I was in trouble? Because I had one of those white light experiences. It was cocaine back then. It seemed innocuous. It was at the time in the 80s. It was like a party type of drug, I think, that really didn't do any harm. But I think that I had a proclivity for it. Starts out as fun, then fun with problems, and then just problems. And that's when you kind of know, when your friends look at you kind of funny. But I had one of those white light experiences where I saw myself either dead or in jail or losing everything that I'd worked for. And, luckily I didn't have kids, or I wasn't married at the time too. And so I just checked myself in. From that, it really kind of rekindled a personal relationship with Jesus, which is really what Christianity is all about.
What would you say to people that have the same struggles?
First, you got to know that you're struggling. You can do it in a heartbeat. It's a decision that you make after swearing that you won't for every night. I used to lay in bed and kind of scream at God to please, take it away from me. And then, about 3 in the afternoon, everything would be okay. Be ready to go at it again. Take the step, ask for help, pray, whatever it takes. It's a higher power that gets you out of it.
What about acting? What came first, music or acting?
I was going to be a veterinarian. That's really what I wanted to be. Getting into drama, suddenly a light went off. As far as music and everything, I wanted to do it, but I guess I didn't know how. And being in Mr. Pickett's class, it was kind of taught as a craft. There was a pathway that I could see there, but I always thought the two would intersect.
Sure did. Your grandfather bought you that guitar.
Yeah, he bought it at Western Auto. The Western Auto was selling some pretty mean guitars.
Did you have lessons?
At that time. No, I never really had a lesson. I just got a chord book, did it that way. Just pick things up from people along the way.
It's amazing. And you auditioned in a coffee shop as a teenager, and somebody told you.
Yeah, that was where that intersection really kind of split. They had clubs back then. That was kind of, I think, the folk era as well. It was like 79, 71, something like that. And they called them coffee houses, you know. I went and auditioned. This lady was behind the desk smoking a cigarette. And she said, what you have will be good for living rooms, but you'll never make it.
Oh.
And so, you know, I believed her. I went out to my car and said, well, I guess it's acting. But now when I do shows, I just tell people, welcome to my living room. So,
That's great. Oh, if she could see you now, I wish she could. And, you know, you're from Texas, so that's kind of a given. You're kind of country, I'd say.
yeah, I grew up in Houston, and Houston is, you know, it's almost like West Louisiana in a way, and it's got such a mix of incredible music, you know, from the regions there. It was country, and then you had all that Louisiana, Zydeco music, Cajun music, and you know, Houston was very cosmopolitan and stuff. My dad was really into like Bing Crosby and Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, and all that. And then of course the Beatles came along. So it was in rock and roll, it was a very wide variety.
I was thinking last night when you played the killer too, and you really were playing, weren't you?
Yeah, Jerry Lee Lewis, I got that role, I think it was like 33, and I had a year to prepare for it. And so I was at the piano like 12 hours a day, and I was on cocaine at the time, so it was like, you can sit there for all night, but I had a year to prepare for it, and Jerry Lee was one of my teachers, actually.
That must have been amazing for you.
Yeah, it was quite an experience.
And Bass Reeves is fantastic too. Tell us about that.
I'm really proud of that Taylor Sheridan Western about Bass Reeves, who was the first black U.S. Deputy Marshal. We're talking about 1870s, you know, back in Oklahoma, what they called Indian country back then. And David Oyelowo is playing Bass Reeves. It's great to do Westerns. They're just so much fun to do. You ride a horse, you shoot, and it's very authentic, as all of Taylor Sheridan's stuff is. I love it.
Really good, Paramount Plus. And then you're portraying Ronald Reagan in a film coming out.
Yeah, that's coming out in May of 2024, and we made it 3 years ago. You know, it's been a long time in post, and it's time for it to come out.
How did you prepare for that role?
He was already my favorite president. He was the first president I voted for, and I voted for him when I came back to the apartment I was living. I had a roommate, and he asked me who I voted for. I said Reagan. He said, you were kicked out of the hippies. You know, there was a lot of videotape, you know, went back and reviewed. It was rather daunting to play somebody so well known. I played a lot of real people before, but I think it was the most intimidating. It was also very hard to get to because he was kind of unknowable in a way to, I think, the world.
What's your favorite role you've ever done?
My favorite role is the Right Stuff.
How come?
Playing an astronaut is the ultimate boys' fun game. I wanted to be an astronaut as a kid. I was playing my favorite astronaut. I got my pilot's license out of that.
Is there anything this guy can't do? My God.
All you need is time. If you have time on your hands, you can do anything.
I love that. That's good. Last time we spoke, you were planning your wedding. How's your married life been?
I love it. I have the closest relationship with Laura and I do. Every day is an adventure.
What would your current self say to your younger self?
Take it easy.
And since this is Life Minute, what's your best life advice?
Take it easy.
To see more of this interview, visit our website, lifeminute.tv. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, Life Minute TV.